Hey guys, this is God of Politics, and welcome back to a brand new video. In this video, I'm doing another election prediction, and this election prediction is for Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump. My updated election prediction, my last one was back in January. I am now doing another one. I did do an election night for this, so you should go check that out as well. But for now, I'm going to be doing my just flat-out prediction for this based on the AppMS map that we have right here. It is looking increasingly likely that Bernie Sanders is going to be the nominee. For the Democrats, he looks like he's being able to run away with it. He won the popular vote in Iowa, he won New Hampshire, he won Nevada, and there's a possibility he could even win South Carolina, and he's most likely going to win most of the Super Tuesday states due to the momentum he has, and also Biden and Bloomberg splitting the vote is what we're probably going to see. But we're going to be doing the election prediction if this is what the general election will look like in November. I do understand that the VP pick might make it might make a big difference this time, especially for Bernie Sanders, who he picks for VP, whether he picks someone from the Midwest. But I'm not going to base it off of that right now. We don't really know. He could pick a number of different people, probably someone from the Midwest to help his chances in the Midwest since he's lacking there in some places. But we'll start doing the safe states here. We'll do the safe states for Donald Trump first. We got North Dakota, South Dakota as well. All of Nebraska except for the 2nd District, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, and South Carolina. That puts Donald Trump at 120. Actually, Maine's 2nd District as well as Iowa and Ohio would both go by safe margins in this election. That would put Donald Trump at 150 safe electoral. Actually, I also no, we'll leave that as a likely. But Donald Trump has 150 safe electoral votes. Bernie Sanders would win these states safe. Actually, we will put Texas in the safe margin. So Donald Trump is now at 188 safe electoral votes. I don't think Bernie Sanders will do very well in Texas. The voters there, I just don't think are going to be coming out to vote for a socialist candidate like him. While he is leading in the polls, and especially getting the Latino vote and things like that, I think that a lot of the trends we've been seeing with Beto O'Rourke doing very well will basically be reversed due to Bernie Sanders being too far to the left, especially on things like gun control and immigration and things like that. So for Bernie Sanders, we have Washington, California. We also have Hawaii will be safe. Illinois will be safe. New York will be safe. Vermont, his home state, will be safe. Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maryland, D.C., will all be by safe margins. Actually, we won't put Rhode Island in the safe margin just yet. We'll leave it like that. So Bernie Sanders has 154 safe electoral votes. Donald Trump has 188 safe electoral votes. Now we'll do more of the election prediction. We'll start from the Northeast. I think Bernie Sanders would barely win New Hampshire by a very small margin, probably a very similar margin to what Hillary Clinton won it by. Due to the fact that it is the sister state of Vermont, and he did do very well there in the primaries, not as well as he should have, but he did do well there, especially in 2016 as well. So he will be able to get enough of the vote that will propel him to a victory here, but a very slight victory. It is going to be very, very slight victory. Also, Rhode Island will be likely, New Jersey will be likely, Delaware will be likely. There's a good Ready Go video about this, how if Trump is able to campaign in these states, get a couple rallies in, he could shift a lot of voters over to the red column. Not enough to make it the blue in the red column in terms of the whole state whatsoever, but they will be closer as they have been in past elections as well. Maine's 1st district will be likely, and Maine at large will tilt to Donald Trump. I don't think Bernie Sanders' Northeast appeal will stretch all the way out to Maine. Maine's 2nd district will go safe, and Maine at large will go tilt towards Donald Trump. He just won't be able to get enough vote from the areas in Maine's 1st district. Bernie Sanders will win Virginia by a tilt margin. The establishment really does not like him there. There were some new polls out today that said that Bernie Sanders was winning by more than anybody by 9 points in Virginia, but I don't really buy that. You had some other polls that showed him down by more than any other candidate, and I think they would be a bit more accurate, but I think that at the end of the day, he would win this state by a tilt margin. North Carolina would go by a likely margin. I'm not ready to say that it would go by a safe margin just yet, just because of the fact that it only went by 5 against Hillary Clinton, and it did go to Obama in 2008. But I think that Bernie Sanders would not be very popular here. He wouldn't be able to get enough votes here, and because of that, it would go by likely margin, a bit larger of a margin with the economy and everything doing so well than it was in 2016, probably by 7 to 8 points. It'll go by. Georgia will go by likely margin as well. I think Bernie will do well enough with black voters to get at least some of the trending vote that we have seen, but it'll probably be a similar vote to what Hillary Clinton got in 2016, just because of the fact that the suburban vote, I don't really think likes Bernie, and I think that if they had to make a decision with between two people that they don't really like, I'm talking about the suburban voters, they will probably end up choosing Donald Trump over somebody like Bernie Sanders if the economy is still doing very well. Florida will go by a lean margin. I'm not ready to put this by a larger margin yet, just because it is still Florida. But Donald Trump does have a lot of things going for him. He has the incumbency advantage. He has the home state advantage. He has the fact that he has good approval here. He is going to win this state against pretty much any candidate, I think. But it will be by a larger margin against Bernie. I don't think Bernie can get much of the vote. He will get the Latina vote. We have seen that he can do well with Latino voters, especially in Nevada, what we saw in the caucuses, but it won't be enough to propel him over the finish line, especially in a state like Florida. He'll lose enough of the votes in the panhandle, then he will lose the overall state. Going to New Mexico here, he will win it by a lead margin. He also will win Colorado by a lead margin. I think in terms of the Colorado Senate race here, it's pretty much a guaranteed flip. Even if Bernie is the nominee, that's just what it's come to here. Colorado is a very socially liberal state. New Mexico is too. And while New Mexico has benefited from many of Trump's economic policies, things like that, I still think that it's too democratic of a state to vote for somebody other than a Democrat, especially someone as divisive as Donald Trump. Whether you like it or not, he is divisive. And I don't think he'd be able to get enough of the votes in New Mexico. A lot of people have been comparing this to a 1972 election, Nixon versus McGovern, but our politics are just so much more partisan now. Even states that went to Richard Nixon, some states you think might be able to go today, I don't think would, just because politics are more partisan. People vote more with party lines rather than other factors that are less partisan. Arizona got by a lead margin. I think a candidate like Joe Biden or Michael Bloomberg could do better in these Sun Belt states. But in terms of Bernie Sanders, I don't think he'll be able to do as well here. As I said before, I don't think he can do well as well in the suburban vote. Maricopa County is one of the things a lot of people have been talking about. It's the county that's been trending blue. It's a county that's been important for the Democrats. They won it in 2018 with the Senate elections, but they did lose it in 2016. I think Bernie would lose that county and therefore would lose the overall state by a lean margin. I think Nevada, although he did get a big victory here, he would lose it by a tilt margin. Nevada is a very disproportionately liberal state. I don't know if you've heard that, but it's a very disproportionately liberal state. So you have the base that supports Bernie Sanders, the very liberal base that supports Bernie Sanders, and it is a closed caucus. You've got independents and Republicans who will vote for Donald Trump because they're not as liberal. They will not vote for a candidate as liberal, despite Bernie doing so well here in the caucuses. And so it will tilt to Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton almost lost the state as well. It's considered a swing state amongst many others that were not. Like Michigan was not considered a swing state, but Nevada was considered a swing state. It was one of the few that Hillary Clinton won, along with New Hampshire. But Bernie Sanders will lose the state, in my opinion. But he will win Oregon by a likely margin, just because he will be able to get out a lot of the Antifa voters, a lot of these socially liberal people in places like Portland. But again, he won't do as well as Hillary on the West Coast due to he has less establishment feel about him. He won't be able to turn out those same kind of voters and everything. Nebraska's second will go by a likely margin. Not much to say about this either. Bernie will win Minnesota by a tilt margin. I'm not ready to give this to Trump yet because for some reason Bernie Sanders does very well in Minnesota. Maybe it's the fact that they're very socially liberal. Maybe it's the fact that they're very economically liberal. They've trended blue. I'm not really sure what the reason is, but they seem to like Bernie Sanders a lot. They voted for him overwhelmingly in 2016, and it's looking more likely that he'll even win it over Amy Klobuchar on Super Tuesday. I think that's almost certain now. But he will win the state by a tilt margin, probably closer than it was in 2016. But I can easily see the state flipping as well. Wisconsin will go lean. Michigan will go tilt. Michigan will go lean as well. And Pennsylvania will go. I'm almost ready to put it likely, but I'll put it lean for now. I believe all these states will go lean because they have been traditionally Democratic states. Before 2016, you've probably heard this, but before 2016, these states had not gone red since 1988 when they were won by George W. Bush in Minnesota, not going red since 1984 when Reagan won all the states except for like Massachusetts or something. And so these states are traditionally blue. They do have two Democratic senators each. Actually, Wisconsin is one Republican senator, and they do all have Democratic governors as well. And Pennsylvania also is a Republican senator. But they are traditionally blue states. They are controlled by the Democrats at the state and local level as well. But for some reason, they voted for Donald Trump. And you can look at the polls here, too. We had a new poll out that showed Bernie Sanders down 9 in Wisconsin, but up 9 in Michigan. And I think you can't really trust those polls, especially about that, because they're not really going to show the full picture, especially the same polling place is going to have a difference of over 15 points from states that are basically getting the same results in 2016 and have very similar characteristics about them. But if Trump can and tout his economic policies, run a lot of ads showing Bernie as a socialist, all the things he's said in his past, all the things he wants to do, I think that'll be very effective in these swing states. He is going to outspend Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is a very active base that has spent a lot of money so far, but I don't think Bernie's going to really be able to expand much on that, especially since he's not taking PACs and super PACs, and he's not self-funded, as Trump has done a little bit of, and he has a very large sum of money that he will spend on ads, because Bernie has no hope of winning Arizona or Florida. His entire path is going to be through these three Rust Belt states while holding on to everything else. And if he's not able to hold on to these three states, Donald Trump, he will lose. If you give these states all to Bernie Sanders becomes the victory. A very close victory, but it is a victory nonetheless. But I believe that Donald Trump's ads could be very effective here. For example, talking about fracking in Pennsylvania. We're talking about many other things that Bernie wants to do, which may be considered radical to some people. And this will overall give Donald Trump a victory of 314 electoral votes to Bernie Sanders' 224, which is 8 less than what Hillary Clinton got in 2016. It'll kind of shut up the socialist wing of the party, I think, because they've shown that they are not able to win, similar to what happened in 1972, but obviously not as bad. But yeah, this is the result I predict. It could change. It could become a larger margin of victory for Trump. It could become closer. Bernie Sanders doing well maybe if the market continues to plunge as a result of the coronavirus. But as of now, this is my prediction. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe as always, and I'll see you guys later.